All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Venus behind the camera, and with me I have Washington, one of the gentlemen who took part and participated in the recent concluded 5 days to live challenge. Like it was introduced, it was just about if you had 5 days to live and God told you that you have only 5 days to live, what is this most important thing to you? What you must do before you leave this world that would make you feel accomplished, satisfied, and really leave a legacy behind for yourself. So many things were done and said. And with me, I have Washington here. I'm going to go through with him about the challenge, how he felt, how it was like, and feel free to comment or like and subscribe. So Mr. Washington, I'm with you right now.
Yes, please.
My very first question is, tell us briefly about your task was in these 5 days.
Okay. I have a vision for this nation, for this world, and that vision, I can trace it as far back as 2009. Of course, it stretches longer than that, but I started cautiously grasping it or getting pieces of it in 2009 when I first went to South Africa. I saw something there. I saw a level of development that I wanted for this nation. So it was a contrast of what we had here and what I saw there. So the vision started building in 2009, and over the years, through the things I went through and the challenges and the disturbing things I went through, it kept on forming until 2018 when I started seeing the picture come together. So it took me all those years, and right now as I stand, the vision is now clearer than it was in 2018. So the vision is simply to change this nation radically, and by radical I mean turning it upside down, socially, economically, spiritually, in every sense imaginable.
All
So my
right.
task, the 5 days to live, was to share with you my story, where this vision is coming from, the story behind it, the vision itself, and then of course the trail I was leaving behind, because there was no one was going to die and go with this vision with me. So I had to leave a trail behind. So that was my challenge, 5 days to live.
So Mr. Washington, if I'm to ask you to put it in one statement, what would you say? What was your task in one statement?
In one statement, share the story, share the vision, start a trail.
Okay.
Yes.
I have many questions boiling around that, but before I jump into that, I want to ask you, who is this Washington? Who is Washington?
With Washington. I'm a Ugandan, born in 1987, November 27. I can't honestly speak about who I really am. It's a long story. That is why that book. That's why I labored so hard to make sure that book was completed, because it tells my whole story, who I really am. So, but in brief, I'm a Ugandan, born in 1987. I come from a family of 8. I'm the 6th last born. So that is me in brief. I am simple. I don't like complicated things, although the work I'm going to do is going to ask for being complicated and difficult, but that is not who I am naturally.
All right. So now, Mr. Washington, you've mentioned that you wanted to set a trail to leave behind, people to follow through towards the vision that you've just talked about. Why at this time?
Why at this time?
Why at this time? Why was this the most important? Because from my understanding, it's just 5 days to live. and the gravity of the words you're using is quite big, in my understanding, to take on in 5 days. Why choose that? Why is that the most important? Most people could have chosen, you're still young, let me die after having a wife. Okay, someone would have chosen, maybe I should travel and go see some place that I've never been to. Why this particular
Why
one?
that particular challenge?
Yes.
Because it's the one that means the world to me, honestly. I could do anything, I could have chosen anything, but that was the thing, because I believe the time was right. And not just because the time was right, but because of the challenge itself. I had to pick the one thing I would do. Yes, the one thing I would do, not two, not three, just the one thing. And actually, I wasn't going to be part of the challenge. I wanted other people to participate. But then it came to me about a week before this whole thing started, and so I was like, I have to be, because what if I had only 5 days left to live? What if I had only 5 days left to live? Would I go with all these things the Lord has invested in me? So my sole task was to make sure that in those 5 days I put together everything. I've been putting these things together since last year, July. But I had never thought about sharing them this soon. But it was the challenge that woke me up. It was the challenge that woke me up. And I was like, Washington, what if you had only 5 days left to live? What is that one thing?
Mr. Washington, I'm going to draw you back in.
Yeah.
Why?
Why?
Why is it so important? Why is it so important? Because traveling would make you happy, would bring you joy, it would bring you all these sorts of experiences. Probably, maybe getting money also could be a goal. But why do you need, why is there a need for you
For me
to make
personally,
sure that these Ugandans and the world must understand and hear before I leave, and understand and get it, that even in my absence, I'm sure I will be accomplished.
no, I think, not think. It was something that was just, how can I put it? I think boiling point. You know what boiling point is. You get to a point where you look left, you look right, you look everywhere, and you don't like what is happening in the world. Okay, I don't like what's happening in this nation right now. I don't like what's happening in the world right now, and these things have been building in me for quite a long time. So when the time came, when that challenge came, that was the why. Timing was simply the why. The why was the timing. Why now? Because the time is ripe. If I had only 5 days left to live, that is the only thing I would care to do. I wouldn't care about anything else. So that was the why. Because I couldn't imagine myself living this world with everything that has been happening in my life for the past 13 years, I think, 2009. But not just 2009. There are things God has been doing in my life that were worth sharing. They were worth sharing with the world. And also, story aside, to paint a vision for this world, that we can have a better place to live in, not just for this generation, but for the generations ahead. So, to come back to your question, the why simply boiled down to the timing.
All
the
right.
challenge, yes.
So, Mr. Washington, before I close this segment, I want to ask just one question following that very question. A challenge was 5 days to live.
Yes.
Why you've been in existence for so long? Why do you think this was the ripe time, when you only have 5 days, you're pressing for time, and things have to happen? Why wait when it is pressing and not do it before, when you have all the time to think through and plan everything as you would want it to be?
I think that explains the very nature of human beings, we tend to think that we have all the time in the world. I thought I had the time. That is why I didn't schedule to be part of the challenge, first of all. Despite being the show's producer, I wasn't counting on myself as one of the participants. Second, this work that have been putting together, these things I've been putting together, I saw myself releasing them 2 years from now. Can you imagine 2 years from now?
Why 2 years from now?
Human nature. We think we have time. We think we have time, but we don't. So it just struck me.
So like someone giving you a lapse of time, it's like a slap in the face.
Yes, it was like a slap in the face. Actually, it happened when I was just about to sleep. I had to get up and think, Washington, first of all, why not part of the participants? You've created this show. Why are you not part of the participants? Second, what if you actually had 5 days to live? What would you do? You've been planning 2 years from now. Now it's only 5 days. Would you really not do this thing that you feel you have to do? Because this work that I feel I have to do is everything to me. It means the world to me. I've been patient.
But again, taking your time.
Yes, I've let the process take its time. But then it punched me that night that what
if it is this important,
yes,
then why wait?
Yes, exactly. Okay. If it's this important to you, why wait 2 years?
I get you.
Okay, I was starting, but this is the book aside and the other things. As for work, I was already working on these things, but I realized sometime last year that sharing these things is actually the most important thing I can do in my life at this stage. So you can see how it came down to the decision that I made. Timing, and also the value these things are to me, because they mean everything to me. Like you said, I could have chosen anything, but right now, maybe those things will matter to me once this work gains traction. But right now they don't. Right now, starting this journey, it has already started, but actively starting it is the most important thing to me, because time is sticky.
Okay, so if I am to get you and pull you in, it's because it is human nature. We tend to waste time,
yes,
and not usually take note towards what we really want.
Exactly.
We are pulled into this, into that, into the other. By the time, and the only time usually most people wake up, it is only when they know now it might be over.
Yes.
And for most people, it is always too late.
Yes.
All right, people, you've heard it from the man himself. We are coming back with the next part. Just stay tuned. All right, we are back. Okay, welcome, guys. Like I told you, this is just the beginning of the many questions that Mr. Washington is going to be answering regarding the challenge he undertook just a few days ago. And before we went into the segment, we had learned why this very project was important to him and why this time. Now I want to ask you, Mr. Washington, going into this challenge against all odds and time, what was your state of mind? Early Monday morning, now knowing, yes, I've committed, I have to do this, but I'm pressing against time, against over this thing that is so important in my life. It's a life situation. What was your state of mind? What were your feelings?
When I woke up Monday, first thing in the morning, I actually visualized my end on Friday. It might surprise you, but I actually saw myself dying on Friday. It wasn't a pretty thing to think about, but that was the mindset. It was the mindset I needed. Otherwise, I wouldn't have worked like I did. So that was the mindset.
How did it make you feel?
I was
Were you ever scared or
yes.
worried that you might really die?
No, no. I had to take it as it was, because any form of doubting whether I was going to die would have altered my mindset and my productivity. So I took it the way it was. 5 days, 6 p.m. Friday, I'm out.
Did that scare you?
A bit. It scared me, but I was more driven by what I had to accomplish. I remember pushing myself and not wasting time like I usually do, not wasting time per se, but so you know that feeling when you know that sense of urgency, let me put it that way, that sense of urgency you have when you know you have a deadline to beat. So that was the mindset. It was all about work, getting the things that I had to do done.
Okay.
Yes.
So, Mr. Washington, what was your experience going through each day, knowing that you can either succeed or fail?
It was hectic, and some days were really hard because the things I wanted to do, one of them was speaking to the president. Remember that? I didn't get to do that. Somewhere on Tuesday, I had an engagement with somebody in town, and I changed my mind. I realized I could approach. I realized I could share what I wanted to share with him in another way. We had a conversation with a guy on Nasa Road, and that stretch highlights what I wanted to share. So it's so sad that I never got to capture that conversation, and I never got actually to talk about that. But that was the kind of feeling that every day I had to push myself as hard as possible to accomplish what I had set out to. I had distractions on Tuesday and Thursday, so 2 days were robbed. But the 3 days that I had, I pushed myself. Some things were really not easy for me to do. There was a day, I think it was Thursday, I had to go speak to strangers in hospitals, in the clinics here. That was something, because of my nature, it was something that wasn't as comfortable as it could be for someone else. So that was the kind of life I had to live.
So each day was hard.
Yes, each day was hard from the moment I woke up at 3:30. And there are days that I had to sleep after midnight because I was both the participant and editor. So I had to wait for content from the other participants to come in and then put together an episode and have it ready before 8 in the morning. So it was hectic. It was a really hard week.
Was it worth it?
Very worth it.
Were you accomplished?
I didn't finish my challenge in the 5 days, and that hurt me a lot because I failed. But I was happy for the other participants. Michael did his, he accomplished his, Pastor Selena accomplished his, and they actually have work to show for it. I didn't finish mine. I only finished mine today.
You only finished yours today?
Yes.
How many days past your
Those
time
are
of dying?
Nearly 2 weeks later. That's how much work I still had to do.
How do you feel about that?
I feel relieved. That's
No, about the fact that you did not finish as you had desired in the
with the exception of the episodes I had put together, because that was work I managed to deliver to people. I felt I had failed on my part because what I wanted to achieve was not. And it also meant that if death was really upon me, I would have gone with these things. Of course, most of them were already written down, but they wouldn't make so much sense to people because there was so much still missing.
All right.
Yes.
So, Mr. Washington, I'm still intrigued and I want to ask you some more questions. But because we don't have all day here, you're going to allow me to postpone some of my questions for another time, and then that will be maybe another part 2 for this segment, or for this part, interviewing the participants who undertook the 5 days to live challenge. So I thank you for being candid and open and looking well doing it. So people, thank you for watching. We shall be back with part 2 just in a short while.